Okay, hello all. Welcome to my kitchen. This is Cooking with Joel. Today we're going to be talking ribs, but we're not just going to be talking about pork ribs. We're going to be talking about these guys. These are beef ribs. These are not pork. So there are different types of ribs. You've got baby back pork ribs, pork ribs, beef ribs, there's short ribs, there's a slew of different ribs and different recipes. It is snowing outside, you can't see it. It's light snow and it's not sticking. I need to fire up the large green egg because we're going to be smoking these bad boys today. So, what exactly are beef ribs? Well, let me take these out of the package and I'll show you a little bit better. Beef ribs are usually the ribs on this side of, or this side of the cow. It could be on either side. There are ribs that run down both sides of a cow, but these particular beef ribs would be where the chuck and where the prime is. When you buy ribs from a butcher, or if you buy them, I bought these from Costco, you'll notice a lot of the prime, and I'm talking about the prime ribs, you won't get as a slab because they're part of the prime rib roast. But I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me get these out. Always when you're doing ribs, whether it be beef or pork, make sure you take them out at least an hour, if not 2 hours before you're going to start cooking them. Especially if you're going to use the rub or you're going to marinate them with oil and stuff. We're going to do a pretty simple rub on this. I think I'm going to just do olive oil and a seasoning. I'm not going to go crazy with these. You could just salt and pepper them. Since they're beef. Pork ribs need a little bit more help because pork ribs don't have a lot of flavor. What I usually do when I do my baby back ribs is I will also do a rub on them, but I usually part of the cooking process is I'll wrap them and put apple juice or a little bit of beer in them and then sauce them. These, I don't know if I'm going to barbecue sauce. It depends on how they come out. I've never done beef ribs before on the grill. I've only done pork. So this will be a new thing. But let's get cooking. So the first thing you'll notice about the beef ribs is how big they are. I mean, this is a big slab. And what you'll notice is you'll go from the biggest rib to the smallest. Now, these ribs down here could be part of a roast, of a rib roast. They could also be part of a ribeye steak. Steaks that are, anything that are ribs, like a standing rib roast, a prime rib roast, a ribeye steak, all are part of the rib cage of the cow. So that's what these are. And you'll notice there is a lot of fat on these. And that's okay. The more fat the ribs have, actually the juicier they should be. You want to ideally keep some of the fat. If you don't like a lot of fat, you can always trim it. And I'm looking at the back of these. And let me wash my hands. I'm looking at the back of the ribs, and there is quite a bit of fat on the back. So if you're one that doesn't like a lot of fat, or you have cholesterol problems, you can go ahead and trim the back of the ribs. Try to keep as much fat on the front though as possible, because that's going to prevent the ribs from actually drying out. If you over trim ribs, and this also, oh, excuse me, this also goes for your roast. You can always trim some of the fat off, but leave a nice piece of fat on any of your roast meats. Try not to get a fully fatless roast, because when you do that, if you don't have fat, you're not going to have any flavor in your meat. And you're going to have, chances are, you're going to have a dried out roast. So always keep in mind that fat is flavor for meat. But sometimes you will get a big chunk of fat, and I'm going to show you what I mean here. Hopefully this will come off. And usually any good butcher, I happen to go to Costco, so this is a piece of fat that I just took off one of the bones just to make it a little bit more. You throw this out, you're not going to use that for anything. You could if you do suet for the birds, you could use that as part of your suet for the birds in the wintertime. But that really has no extraordinary flavor for your meats. A good butcher will charge you for doing this, but they'll also be able to take the fat or trim the fat for you. So I'm taking some more fat off. And like I said, and I'm going to show you the back of the ribs. These are, I took it off from these two spots where my two fingers are right here, because these were just a little fatty. These are pretty good. I'm going to leave those as this, because there's enough natural fat. Because these are so big, what we're going to do is we're going to cut these in half. Just to fit on. And you kind of have to be, I'm going to kind of show you, because this is a little bit more tricky than a beef rib, is you have bone here, but you also have a bone right there. So when you cut, you want to go right in between the bones. And this is a pretty big. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13. This is 14 bones. So that's a pretty big slab of ribs. And I noticed, if you didn't notice that little clip, this was just hanging over. This is just a piece of fat. Again, trim it, throw it away. You're not going to use that in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Unfortunately, between the 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's not a lot of space, but you're gonna have to kind of do it at an angle, and somebody might not exactly get. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I cut my slabs. I've got two slabs that are pretty much equal. This one's a little bit bigger than this one, because this now is 8 bones and this is 6. But that's okay. If you can't get an equal number, go to the next bone that you can cut. The reason I couldn't get 7 and 7 is because the bone was right in the middle. And to go at an angle, the way the bone was, I would have hit the bone. So don't worry if you can't get it even. And again, always make sure you wash your hands after you work with meat. So I'm going to do, normally when I do steaks or I do lamb chops or even pork chops, I do a rub called swamp venom. This time I'm not. And the reason I'm not going to use the swamp venom is it's a little spicy. And because these are beef ribs, we want to kind of mellow, make these more of a mellow flavor. So I'm going to use, pardon the pun, I'm going to use the shit spices I have. They make a special one for beef, and it's called Bullshit. So we're going to put that on. It's really good. It's basically a basic rub. It's got paprika, pepper, garlic, and a little bit of brown sugar, just for flavor. Like I said, with beef ribs, you don't have to do a lot to it. The one thing I would stay away from beef ribs is putting garlic on them. You can use the garlic salt, but don't use a garlic. The reason being is if you use the garlic, my dogs are barking, so I'm going to stop this, let them go potty, and I'll pick this back up.